What if I told you there's a river in China where the water splits in half? One side completely calm, the other a roaring wall of water taller than a 3-story building, moving faster than you can run. What if I told you there's a lake shaped like a perfect heart, filled with blood-red water, sitting in the middle of a desert, and scientists still can't fully explain it? What if I told you there's a mountain with no peak, only a crater at the top, 7,000 feet above sea level, holding the deepest crater lake on Earth, almost always hidden by fog so thick that people come back 10 times and never see it? None of this is CGI. None of this is a myth. All of it exists, right now, in China. And almost none of it looks real. Stay with me, because by the end of this video you will genuinely question what the word impossible means. Before we begin, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from, and what time is it there right now? Now, let's go. Number 1. The river that splits itself. Every year, on the 18th day of the 8th lunar month, over 170,000 people line the banks of the Qiantang River. They're not there for a festival. They're not there for fireworks. They're there because the ocean is about to invade the river. The Qiantang tidal bore is the largest rivermouth tidal wave on Earth. As ocean tides are forced upstream into a narrowing channel, the water has nowhere to go but up. Peak crests reach nearly 30 feet. And at maximum intensity, wave fronts from different directions collide head-on, forming X-shaped intersections and vertical columns of water that shoot straight into the air. But the strangest moment? Right before the bore arrives, the river surface splits. One side goes completely calm. The other becomes a fast-moving wall. Before the bore hits, all boats must be pulled ashore. Any vessel left behind can be overturned in 3 seconds. This has been happening at nearly the exact predicted time, for over 2,500 years. The ocean doesn't care about calendars, but somehow, astronomically, it keeps showing up on schedule. Number 2. The mountain that shouldn't exist. Most mountains follow a simple rule. The base is wide, the peak narrows. Load disperses. Physics is happy. Yalu Mountain ignored that rule completely. Its cliffs rise 600 to 900 feet, sheer, vertical. No flared base, no transitional slope, just walls. Walls of 1.4 billion-year-old red rock running straight down into a turquoise river below. The color combination alone makes your brain short-circuit. Ancient red stone. Crystal turquoise water. No geological model predicts them side by side like this. And those waterfalls you see cascading down the cliffs in dry season? They're not natural. Engineers buried water pipelines inside the rock itself, one of the only places on Earth where humans have taken direct control of waterfall hydrology at this scale. In 2015, a glass panel on the walkway over 3,300 feet above ground fractured mid-visit. Visitor numbers went up. Number 3. The heart in the desert. Deep in the Tanga Desert, accessible only by off-road vehicle across miles of shifting dunes, there's a lake shaped almost perfectly like a heart. This is Ulan Lake. Its blood-red water isn't a filter. It isn't algae in the conventional sense. It's a specific combination of extreme salinity, many times higher than seawater, and extreme alkalinity that creates an environment where almost nothing survives. The organisms that do thrive here produce the vivid red coloration as a byproduct of survival strategies comparable to life found on Mars. Around the lake, a ring of white salt channels traces the boundary of the red water like capillaries around a heart. How the red water and white mineral rim remain so sharply separated? Geologists don't have a consensus answer. Number 4. The volcano that swallowed its own peak. Most volcanoes build up. Changbai Mountain went the other direction. Its summit is a massive depression, a crater sitting over 7,000 feet above sea level, and inside that crater sits Heaven Lake, the highest crater lake in the world accessible to visitors. In winter, temperatures drop below -40°Fahrenheit, cold enough to freeze your breath before it leaves your lips, and yet a waterfall continues to flow through terrain permanently covered in ice. Some visitors come 10 times and never see the lake. The summit is almost always sealed by fog, cloud layers, and pressure differentials that make it look like the crater exists in a different atmosphere entirely. That white layer coating the summit? Not snow. It's pumice. Residue from a super eruption in 946 AD, one of the most powerful volcanic events ever recorded in human history. The mountain hasn't just hidden its peak, it erased it, and then replaced it with water. Number 5. The city where it snows without snowing. Jilin City, northeast China. Peak winter. Every morning, the branches across the entire city are coated in shimmering white crystals, as if it snowed overnight. But not a single snowflake fell. This is Rime ice. As water vapor from the Songhua River, which somehow continues flowing at 22 degrees, too deep and too slow to freeze, meets the freezing air, it crystallizes directly onto every surface it touches, not falling, just forming, silently. Overnight. The display lasts only a few hours. Then, as the sun rises, the entire ice layer collapses at once, a cascade of crystal rain, and vanishes completely, every single year, like it never happened. Number 6. The lake that reflects an entire sky. Chaka Salt Lake has been harvested for over 3,000 years. Its salt layer alone is estimated to supply China's 1.4 billion people for nearly 100 years, but nobody comes for the salt anymore. They come because when a thin layer of water sits on the perfectly flat salt surface, the lake disappears and the sky takes its place. The horizon vanishes. You're standing inside a mirror. An old railway track, originally built to haul salt, now stretches 2.5 miles straight into the center of the lake, cutting directly through the reflection of the clouds. When it rains, the salt statues around the lake partially dissolve. When the sun returns, they rebuild themselves. A natural self-repair system, running continuously, requiring nothing. Number 7. The fishing ritual from 900 AD. Every winter on Chagan Lake, one of China's largest freshwater lakes, the ice freezes thick. And then something ancient begins. Hundreds of holes are drilled across the frozen surface in precise formation, surrounding schools of fish below. A net 1.2 miles long is laid beneath the ice, and then it's pulled, entirely by horses. No motors, no machinery, just giant draft horses as the only engine. This method dates to the Liao dynasty, around 900 AD. During a few festival weeks, over 2 million pounds of fish are harvested, and every year the lake replenishes itself. The ecosystem balanced not by human management, but by extreme winter conditions that have been doing this work for 1,000 years. The ice doesn't crack under that weight. The fish don't run out. The horses keep pulling. Some things work because they've always worked. Number 8. The dam that slowed the earth. The Three Gorges Dam on the Yangtze River is not just the largest hydroelectric structure ever built. It's something stranger than that. When the reservoir filled, 39.3 billion cubic meters of water, roughly 42 billion tons, concentrated in one fixed section of a river valley, the redistribution of mass altered Earth's moment of inertia. The planet's rotation slowed by approximately 0.06 microseconds. The geographic pole shifted by nearly 2 centimeters. To build it, 988 million cubic feet of concrete, over 510,000 tons of steel, enough to build 63 Eiffel Towers. To make room for it, 13 cities, 140 towns, and over 1,300 villages were relocated. 1.3 million people moved, the largest resettlement operation ever recorded for a single infrastructure project. A dam didn't just redirect water, it nudged the axis of the world. Number 9. The mountain with a halo. Mount Emei is one of China's 4 sacred Buddhist mountains. At the top, something happens that monks have been recording for centuries and physicists now have a name for. When you stand at the summit and look toward certain clouds, your own silhouette appears, projected onto the mist, surrounded by a perfect circular rainbow. This is a Brocken specter, a rare atmospheric optical phenomenon where diffracted sunlight forms a halo around the shadow of the observer. At Mount Emei, it's called the Buddha Halo. The statue of Samantabhadra stands 157 feet tall, gilded in real gold, positioned above the cloud line. Below the summit, the cloud sea forms a shallow ocean of vapor, and at certain hours, it tips over the edge and falls as cloud waterfalls, dropping thousands of feet into the valleys below. Rainforest at the base, snow at the peak, over 3,000 plant species on a single mountain, roughly 1/10 of all plant diversity in China in one place. Number 10. The mountain with two heads. Mount Fanjing's main summit split completely in two, not cracked, not weathered, split, into two separate stone pillars rising vertically into the sky, each holding an ancient temple, connected by a single narrow stone bridge suspended above a ravine so deep you cannot see the bottom. From a distance, it looks like a finger pointing at the sky. Up close, it looks like the mountain is balancing two buildings on two separate fingertips. To reach the top, 8,888 stone steps, exposed to wind, carved into cliff edges. No escalator, no cable car, just steps. And the knowledge that each one was cut by hand, by devotion, by people who believed getting there was the point. Number 11. The cliff that speaks. Longmen Grottoes along the Yi River. Over 100,000 stone statues carved directly into limestone cliffs. Seen from across the river, thousands of tightly packed chambers make the entire cliff face look like a vertical beehive. But stand close and the scale becomes disorienting. A single statue stands 56 feet tall, and just a few feet away from its knee. Carvings smaller than 1 inch. The smallest human figures you can barely see. The largest you need to step back 100 feet to take in. Both in the same wall. The cliff also preserves over 2,800 carved texts and more than 140 ancient medical prescriptions. Stone data. 1,500 years of it. Every face across 100,000 statues is unique. No two alike. Across 4 centuries of uninterrupted work, generation after generation of stonemasons devoted their entire lives to a single cliff face and made sure that not one figure repeated another. Number 12. The arch that changes shape as you walk. Moon Hill is a limestone peak with a massive crescent-shaped hole through its top. Not an arch at the base, not a cave. A hole through the summit itself. The arch rises 160 feet. Reaching the space beneath it requires climbing 800 stone steps. At its thinnest point, the arch is only a few feet thick, and yet it supports thousands of tons of limestone above it. The strange part is what happens as you walk the trail below. The shape changes with every step. From certain angles, it's a crescent. From others, a half moon. From others, a full circle. The arch reproduces the visual phases of the moon as you move, not by design, but by geometry. The interior of the arch also functions as a natural acoustic amplifier. Even faint sounds from the valley below can be heard clearly at its center, channeled by the curve of 10,000 tons of rock. Number 13. The highway through the sky. The Yalu Expressway crosses more than 12 geological fault zones and ancient volcanic systems. Over half its length, 55%, runs either across deep-span bridges or through tunnels drilled directly into mountain rock. On average, the road climbs 24.6 feet for every single mile traveled. The cumulative elevation gain equals 4 Burj Khalifa towers stacked end to end. You can enter a tunnel under bright sunlight. 10 minutes later, you exit into heavy snowfall. The altitude difference between the tunnel entrances is that extreme. Microclimates shift mid-drive. temperature, cloud cover, visibility, transformed over distances measured in minutes. The highway doesn't cross the landscape. It punches through it. Number 14. The lakes that change color by the hour. Jiuzhaigou Valley holds over 100 lakes, none connected by rivers. Every lake feeds the next through waterfalls, the entire system built on natural limestone terraces shaped by millions of years of tectonic movement. The lakes are turquoise, emerald, sapphire, deep blue, and the colors shift throughout the day, not because of algae, not because of lighting, but because microscopic limestone crystals on each lake bed refract sunlight at different angles as the sun moves across the sky. The water is so transparent that ancient tree trunks fallen onto the lake floors can be seen clearly from the surface, resting there for hundreds of years without significant decay, preserved by the mineral content of the water. This landscape was chosen as a default Windows wallpaper. It was also used as the filming location for the 1986 television adaptation of Journey to the West. The real world looked too unreal to need special effects. Number 15. The Terraces carved by hand, still running today. For over 1,200 years, the Han people of Yunnan province have been carving mountain slopes into rice terraces using the most basic tools imaginable. Today, plowing and field maintenance still rely entirely on human labor and water buffalo, the same way their ancestors worked 1,000 years ago. The canal network the Han built channels water from primary forests at the mountaintops through villages and delivers it with precision to each individual terrace below. This system has operated continuously for over a millennium with no modern technology, no sensors, no central control. During certain seasons, red algae grow underwater in the flooded terraces. Combined with low-angle sunlight, adjacent terraces can appear bright red, then green, then deep purple, a massive color palette painted by water and angle and time. Someone once called this water system natural artificial intelligence built from mud and stone. That description is more accurate than it sounds. Number 16. The bridge that curves through the sky. The Ruyi Bridge doesn't go straight. It curves, continuously, from one side of a canyon to the other, 460 feet above the canyon floor. That's over 40 stories of empty air beneath your feet. Most of the walking surface is transparent tempered glass. Because the bridge curves rather than running straight, its silhouette changes completely depending on where you stand and which direction you look. No single geometric axis runs its full length. The curvature also disperses wind loads. At this altitude, in this terrain, there is no other way to keep it stable. The engineering is in the shape. The shape is also the experience. You cannot separate the two. Number 17. The city that floats on cliffs. Mount Mingshan in northern China didn't inspire people to build at its base. They built on the cliffs themselves, at elevations exceeding 6,500 feet, anchoring multi-story palaces directly into near-vertical rock faces. To move between sections of the complex, you walk along narrow wooden plank paths, wide enough for one person, with solid rock on one side and open sky on the other. Inside some of the temples, Buddhist statues that have been worshipped for centuries contain something unexpected: naturally preserved mummified monks. Their intact skeletal structures were confirmed by X-ray scans. The high-altitude climate, extreme cold, low humidity, low oxygen, created preservation conditions that science can replicate but not fully explain. Number 18. The mountain that invented a planet. James Cameron needed a world that looked impossible. He found one in Hunan province. Zhangjiajie National Forest Park contains over 3,000 stone pillars rising from deep valleys, many exceeding 1,300 feet in height. This geological structure, a three-dimensional stone forest, exists nowhere else in the world. When mist fills the valleys, which happens frequently, the lower portions of the pillars disappear entirely. The columns appear to float, hundreds of them, hovering above white cloud, disconnected from the earth. Cameron called this the Hallelujah Mountains and placed them on a planet called Pandora. The people of Hunan Province called them home. The world's tallest outdoor elevator lifts visitors to the summit in 1 minute and 28 seconds. Cable cars cross chasms hundreds of feet deep, passing so close to the pillars that the moss on the rock surfaces looks reachable through the window. Number 19. The Ride with No Seat Belts Flying. Kiss is 3,200 feet above sea level. 2 giant metal arms extend from a limestone cliff into open sky. Each arm holds 120 people standing in its open palm. No seats, no harnesses, no seat belts. Everyone stands. Everyone rises. At the highest point, the palm spins a full 360 degrees, while the 2 arms tilt toward each other at the precise angle of a kiss. The height is equivalent to standing on top of 22 stacked statues of liberty. It has been called one of the ugliest structures in China. Thousands of people line up for it every year. Number 20. The Waterfall on 2 countries. Detian Waterfall sits directly on the border between China and Vietnam. It's the largest transnational waterfall in Asia. At the base, small bamboo rafts carry visitors close enough to feel the spray. A single step can place you in another country. The limestone hills surrounding the falls are cone-shaped, symmetrical, smooth-peaked. They look hand-sculpted, though no hand touched them. The mist from the falls is so constant that 2 or 3 rainbows can appear simultaneously. Sometimes a third arc forms on the mountainside, nearly 300 feet above the water surface. The site has been used as a backdrop for Chinese fantasy films, and every time, the production team chose not to add visual effects. The location needed nothing. Number 21. The largest stone face on Earth. In 713 AD, a monk named Haitong began carving a Buddha into the cliff face of Mount Lingyun, at the point where 3 rivers converge. He believed the statue would calm violent waters. Construction took 90 years. The result, a 233-foot figure carved not onto a mountain, but out of it. The mountain is the statue. The Buddha's shoulders are 80 feet wide, roughly the size of a regulation basketball court. A single foot can hold around 100 people standing. This is the Leshan giant Buddha, the tallest stone Buddha statue in the world. And there are modern accounts, documented, repeated, and discussed, of the statue's eyes appearing to close, of tears appearing on its face, of a glowing halo forming around its head during years connected to disasters and major upheaval. These things are not explained. They are simply reported, by many people, over many decades. Make of that what you will. Number 22. The desert that used to be a lake. 100 million years ago, the Xinjiang region, now called World Devil City, was a vast freshwater lake. Dinosaurs came to drink from it. Today, wind and erosion have carved what remains into stone structures that resemble the Egyptian Sphinx, medieval castles, and massive warships, all without a single human hand involved. Wind rushing through the eroded rock cavities bends and amplifies sound. The desert produces roars, cries, haunting echoes that seem to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. 162 square miles of rock that sounds like a living thing. Number 23. The bridge that took 4 years of aerial work. The Aizhai Bridge in Hunan hangs entirely in mid-air. No ground-based pillars. 2 main suspension cables stretched between mountain peaks hold thousands of tons of steel above a canyon that required 30 minutes of dangerous mountain road to cross before the bridge existed. Now, the crossing takes 1 minute. During construction at this height, steel segments weighing hundreds of tons had to be lifted into position by helicopter. No ground support was available. The construction process was compared to a 4-year aerial stunt. The bridge is painted vivid red-orange, not for aesthetics but to remain visible through the dense Hunan fog that swallows everything else. Number 24. The town that outspent an empire. Nanxun, ancient town, was built on silk. At its peak, during the Qing dynasty, the combined wealth of its local merchant clans was estimated to exceed the imperial treasury. The stone bridges along its canals were assembled without cement or mortar, precision-fitted, held by geometry alone. They have endured centuries of water pressure and time without shifting. When you look at the bridge's reflection in the still water below, the arch and its mirror image form a perfect circle. 100 connected houses stretch for hundreds of feet along one canal, all sharing a single covered walkway, so that passage across town has never required walking in the rain. Number 25. The Silent Army of the Dead. The Ming tombs hold 13 emperors beneath a single sacred valley. Lining the Spirit Way are 24 monumental stone animals, standing or kneeling, arranged in permanent procession. Stone horses, stone lions, stone camels, stone elephants. They have not moved in 600 years. The Great Red Gate marks the boundary between the living world and the realm of the dead. All visitors, including the highest officials in the empire, were required to dismount here and proceed on foot. No one rode past the gate, not once, not in 600 years of imperial China. At the ceremonial center, a stone tortoise carries a steely recording divine merit. The combined structure weighs approximately 300 tons. These tombs were not built to be visited. They were built to last forever. And so far, they're keeping their side of that arrangement. We talk about the natural world like we've already cataloged it. Like the maps are finished, the wonders are known, and exploration is something that belongs to the past. China alone contains landscapes that form in ways science is still debating, geological formations that have no global equivalent, human constructions that change the rotation of the Earth, mountains that look like other planets, rivers that split themselves in half, deserts that roar. Every single place in this video exists right now, not in a legend, not in a rendering. On this planet, in this century, accessible to human feet. The world is still full of things that don't seem real. You just have to know where to look.